We have with us the ultimate boss lady, Ritu Dalmia. She has 6 restaurants in India, 5 in Italy, 1 in Dubai, and she caters all over the world. She's so popular that people first ask her for her dates and then fix the wedding date. Ritu?
Oh, I wish it was true, darling.
Of course it is, Ritu. So tell us all, how did the journey start? At which point did you realize this is what I want to do?
You know, I'm 51. I'm trying to figure this out for 30 years. I started 31 years ago. I still haven't found the answer. But the truth is, I never wanted to be a chef. I never wanted to be a restaurateur. I'm a Marwadi girl. So, you know, my dream was to be this supersonic industrialist with 3-4 private planes, preferably in pink, standing behind me, 5 mobile phones in the hand, and being the top industrialist. Somewhere, I realized that wasn't me. I used to like to cook. I always cooked since I was a kid. And one day, my dad shouted at me in front of everyone in the office, and I said, okay, this is it. I'm going to do something on my own. Yeah? Stupid. So at 20, when you have 4 lakh rupees with you, you think you're super rich. I said, okay, he shouted at me. I'm going to open my own restaurant and show it to him I'm capable. That was the beginning, 31 years ago. And here I am, still wondering, would I have been any good at being this top-notch industrialist or not? But
you're doing so well. But how did it start? Where was your first restaurant? Did you figure it all yourself? Did you hire a consultant?
So
how did it all work out?
So my first restaurant was in Hoskas village in its pure glory days. You weren't even born then, I think. And how did it start? Did I figure it out myself? Yes, I did. It was an absolute failure. Let's put it this way. So that restaurant was my Harvard Business School. It taught me all the things I should not have done with a restaurant. But I loved it. I ran it for 2.5 years. People still remember. Many of the Diva guests who still come here are guests who are from Mezzaluna time. And yes, I did hire a consultant, believe it or not, who's a very famous caterer himself today, Puneet Sikand. He had just left Oberoi's and he joined me as a consultant because I thought I didn't know anything. And after a week, he told me, I don't think you need a consultant. And he quit. And honestly, I think that was the best thing that could have happened to me because I really then had to figure it out for myself. And you know, you just said how many restaurants I have. But what you don't realize is how many failures I've had as well.
Tell us about the failures.
So as I said, Mezzaluna, the first one.
Why did it, what went
before
wrong?
Its time. No alcohol license. Food which India had not seen. The culture that time was only 5-star culture. So people were still not traveling as much. People were not still aware of Italian food per se. And as I said, I just opened it thinking I know it all. And when I opened the restaurant, I realized cooking at home for pleasure and cooking commercially are 2 different things altogether. In fact, when I meet anyone young today and they say, what shall we do if we open a restaurant? I always tell them, number 1, just put in enough money that you can afford to lose. Because success rate worldwide is less than 7%.
Wow.
And there's no resale value, there is nothing. And if you don't know your product, don't do it. So all the reasons why I opened my first restaurant are all the reasons I tell people why they shouldn't open a restaurant.
After 2.5 years, your first restaurant shut, then you started your second. What did you kind of incorporate from the learnings in the second restaurant? Where was that?
The second restaurant was Vama in London. And first year it didn't do too well. But then it really took off, and I have to admit, those 4 years are some of my proudest moments. But then again, I had learned everything which I had done wrong in Mezzaluna, which I refused to repeat in Vama. Number 1, location. Location. So we had an amazing location on King's Road, Chelsea, which was quite the chichi area. Food. Can't take cold to Newcastle. My first love was always Italian. But there were plenty of Italian restaurants in London. They didn't need another one, and especially not one that was run by an Indian chef. So we decided to do a modern Indian restaurant. And now when I look at it, actually it was one of the first modern Indian restaurant that ever started. I mean, those were the days when I was doing quail in the tandoor, we were doing scallops masala, and then it just took off. And how? By the end of it, there was Brian Adams eating on one table, Martina Navratilova on the other table. I loved it. I had a blast. But the reality is I was homesick, and let's face it, it's not nice to do mazdoori at home, no? Washing your own clothes, preparing your own breakfast, cleaning your thing. So the minute the restaurant was successful, I realized I needed to come home because my worldly comfort meant way too much to me than a successful restaurant.
And then what did you open?
2000 Diva started, and of course rest is all history.
So how did you manage London? Did you have a business partner there?
Again, I told you I was stupid, okay, right from day one. So Mezzaluna I shut down. I managed to actually sell it, not really shut down.
That's quite cool.
Yeah, no offense meant, but
Marwari.
someone said I want to buy it. I said sell and run, and that's what I did. And that I thought was enough as my starting capital to start London project.
Wow.
And I had a partner, Arjun Verma and Andy Verma, but again, we didn't have enough money. So the first year, someone would come, put a gun on my head. I would sign a check, knowing very well it'll bounce back. Taking loans from the banks, etc. We managed to open it. Again, at a very low capital, much lower than any other restaurant would have opened. And that's also the reason why we survived. And don't forget, I'm talking about 95. 95 things were not as expensive, not as crazy as it is today. So we managed to open with great financial difficulty. I thought I had taken enough money with me for my own personal survival for 2 years. Within 2 months, I had no money left. So I would eat at the restaurant every day because I had no money for groceries. As I said, I would be cleaning glasses every night to save money on manpower. So I think I really felt sorry for myself those days because it was quite a hard period. But if I look back, I think it was one of the best periods I had of my life, and I wouldn't trade it for anything else.
Now, you have managed to have lots of business partners since you're present all over the world.
So I'll tell you what, we have one business partner, which is the Max Group, Mr. Analjeet Singh. He bought 51% of our company in 2016. I have to admit they're the best partners I've ever had in my life. There are times when I tell them, hang on, aren't you interested to know what we are doing? So there's really zero interference, which is unheard of in a business where you have outside investors. Plus now post-COVID, our business model changed. Our business model is very asset light. So in the sense, we don't invest anymore in restaurants per se. We get the landlord to invest in it, and we come in as management partners. So yes, today our Bombay restaurants are all on such partnerships. Our Dubai restaurant is all on such partnerships. Milan, the restaurants, some of them are our own, some of them are on the similar model. But going forward, this is the model that we want to follow, that God forbid something like COVID happens again, we'll be able to survive without thinking how are we going to pay the next paycheck.
So what's your advice to all the people out there, all the chefs out there? At which point of their business should they seek out a partner or an investor?
Restaurants and chefs, they can be multiple models. If it's a singular restaurant, 2 restaurants, honestly, they don't need a business partner. They should be able to do it on their own. And as I said, you have to keep your capex minimum. Even if we have a lot of funds available to us, I will never invest in a restaurant which we cannot afford to lose, as I said before, because what's the resale value of a table or a chair or kitchen equipment? You won't get any residual value. But if your ambitions are much higher and you want to go, let's say, fully across the country or multiple units across around the world, then the sooner you get one, the better it is, because an investor can do many things. Apart from money, you also need to look for investors who will bring something on the table, whether it's in terms of systems, whether it's organization, or whether it's institutionalizing the business. So today, I can afford to have so many restaurants across because the system has been set. Our CEO, Nakul, who mainly does all the work, I only take the credit, has set a system, manpower, professionals who actually can take, otherwise it's impossible for me to be in 11 different locations.
True.
And it's impossible. So training and institutionalizing is very important, and I would say this earlier you get in, the better it is, because then they also set the systems. Because don't forget, chefs are very creative people, but they're not very good with numbers. They're really not good with numbers, and if they get that support early in the day, then sky's the limit for them.
You have a restaurant in Milan. Why did you choose Milan and what's it called?
So, darling, in my last life I was an Italian. That's why I think I opened the first Italian restaurant in Delhi. So, Milan was a very emotional decision for me. London, I had already done it. It was successful, but I had no desire to go back. And for me, somewhere everything I've done in my life has been connected with Italy. So, when the time came to expand internationally, for me, I didn't even do any market study, nothing. It was Milan. So, the first restaurant there was Chittamani, it's still there. It's my little baby who I adore. Chittamani is contemporary regional home Indian food.
Oh, really?
It's in Brera, which is one of the really nicest locations of Milan. Then we partnered with Chef Viviana Varese, who's a Michelin star chef. So, our restaurant Viva today is Italian and with 1 star. The third restaurant which has just opened is Polpo, which is a fish restaurant because Italians love fish. And 2 restaurants are down in Sicily. One is a bistro model Italian, and one is inside a hotel, which is a smaller version of Viva.
There's a new generation of chefs in India. They are so successful. What do you think they're doing right?
Well, you know, I may have grey hair, but in spirit I'm with these young guys. Okay? Very recently I told someone that now they call me as panelists, etc., or to host awards. It means I'm done and dusted, and I accept that very happily.
Gracefully.
And which I told a friend of mine recently, when I was young and the awards would go to all older chefs who were so, I used to get really pissed off that it's the young people who need that little push.
Encouragement, yeah.
And today the young chefs, they are bloody fantastic. When I started, I mean, we were one of the handful chef run restaurants, and I used to be shocked when I used to speak to a young chef, open a restaurant on their own. They never wanted to because they wanted the security of a job in a hotel or whatever. But today the chefs are educated, they are travelled, they are curious, they are imaginative, and they are not scared to take risk. And it is a beautiful time, it's an amazing time for chefs in India per se, because they have a platform to showcase themselves which they never had before.
Yeah.
So, I take back my seat very gracefully, I take the back seat because it's really and honestly a time for them to shine.
Who are your top 2 Indian chefs?
Indian chefs, always Chef Manish Mehrotra. I admire him, I respect him. I really have a lot of respect for him, and also I'm a bit jealous of him, I have to admit, because he's so bloody talented. And what he has done for Indian food globally, I don't think no other chef has been able to do. And what was also nice is he has shared his knowledge. You know, most of the chefs are very secretive and this is something
Territorial.
I've also not believed in.
True.
Because if you don't pass on your knowledge, how is it going to go ahead? Another chef who I really enjoy and I think is very talented but a very lesser known chef is Chef Anumitra. Anumitra has got a small restaurant called Edible Archives in
yes,
Goa.
yes.
Again, she's an ex-diva girl, and for me she's an academic. God forbid if I say any ingredient's name, she will give a full history, geography by, you know. But when she cooks, the way she cooks, it is absolutely spectacular.
You have fought so many battles on behalf of the LGBTQ community. What gave you the strength, the determination and the confidence?
I used to always support the cause, always from behind in terms of financial support, etc. 2009, Delhi High Court announced it as a decriminalization. Everyone was happy. Between 2009 and 13, I saw a lot of gay couples coming out of their woodworks and restaurants were full of them. You know, there was this joy, there was no shame, there was no fear. And 2013, then of course the Supreme Court announced it as a criminal offence again, punishable minimum 10 years in imprisonment, going up to life imprisonment. It was a very dark moment, very, very dark moment. And all the time discussions were happening, what the hell is this all about, don't want to live in India anymore. A lot of talent left India at that time. A lot of young people were so scared, they actually left the country. And my partner told me, you know, all you do is complain. What is it that you have done for it? And that hurt. That really was below the belt because there was a truth in it. The thing is, I'm not a politician, nor am I an activist, but I think I have done my bit, and somewhere people to some extent know me. And if I would have filed this petition, I think for all wrong reasons, I would have had a better voice than many other. So when Saurabh Kripal, Menaka Guruswamy, the lawyers who fought this case, asked me to join this petition, I didn't even think for a second. I just said yes, because my ego had been bruised so badly by my partner. Next years were very difficult. It wasn't easy, a lot of trolling, a lot of shit. But honestly, I didn't think in my lifetime I would ever see a result out of it. In 2018, in 6th of September, I think, we won the case. And the first step had been established, which was decriminalization. It's a long, long journey. This was just the first step. And now a lot of younger people have the voice, the say, and the platform to take this forward. But I have to admit, if you ask me what is my proudest moment, it's not opening Diva, it's not opening Mezzaluna. This is my proudest moment in my life.
Your favorite restaurants in Goa?
So I don't eat out much, but when I do, I'm a creature of habit. I go back to the same places. There's a very nice place called Slow Tide on Anjuna. Still not 100% discovered, and I hope they don't discover it after seeing your post. But the food is so delicious, the drinks are amazing, you're overlooking the sea, and yet it is not overcrowded. So that's one place I really love to go. Normally I go for late-ish 6:37 drinks and lots of small bites, so dinner is not needed. And their small plates are actually some of the best I've eaten. And the other two restaurants that I really like, one is called Sapado, which does basically Tamilian thalis. So that's my favorite lunch spot. And just recently I've discovered a place called Villa 259, and that's mainly because they have karaoke on Wednesday nights. So
lovely. You can all go there and hear Ritu sing.
Absolutely. I'm a woman of many talents.
Any advice you have for all the chefs watching, all the young chefs?
So my only advice is what I've learned over the years with my mistake. Number one, don't overstretch yourself. Don't try to be too fancy. You know, sometimes it's amazing to think of brilliant things and then you realize 90% of the ingredients are not available. So make sure whatever you do has a longevity, and you have to find a balance between your creativity and your business sense. The chef in me wants the biggest kitchen, wants to spend 50-60 lakhs on the kitchen, and the businesswoman in me always tells me cost center versus profit center. And last but not the least, when you're opening a restaurant, just make sure you do full research, because in India getting licenses are nearly next to impossible. You may take a beautiful spot only to find that you don't meet the legal requirements there. So it may not look nice, but you don't want a headache for the rest of your life. Do it right, do it legally, despite the fact that it's a nightmare.
You said that only 7% of all restaurants are successful. So what's your advice to the investors out there?
For investors, if you can spot a talent and if you can keep their spending power in check, you've got a winner, because these 7% rock the food industry.
Lovely. And what food do you eat if you don't eat out?
Kadi chawal.
Kadi chawal.
One day is kadi chawal, one day is torai and chapati, and third day is dal chawal aloo tuk.
Lovely. That's
Shame
what it
on
all
me.
boils down to.
Shame on me.
That's what it boils down to.
You know, my menu in Dubai has my favorite dish on a menu in a fancy restaurant. It's dal chawal aloo ka bharta. Biggest seller.
Really?
Yes.
Done. We'll go there and check it out.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Ambika. Love you.
Thank you.